The Battle of Czarnowo on the night of 23–24 December 1806 saw troops of the First French Empire under the eye of Emperor Napoleon I launch an evening assault crossing of the Wkra River against Lieutenant General Alexander Ivanovich Osterman-Tolstoy's defending Russian Empire forces. The attackers, part of Marshal Louis Nicholas Davout's Third Corps, succeeded in crossing the Wkra at its mouth and pressed eastward to the village of Czarnowo. After an all-night struggle, the Russian commander withdrew his troops to the east, ending this war of the Fourth Coalition action. Czarnowo is located on the north bank of the Narew River, 33 kilometers north-northwest of Warsaw. Several other actions occurred during the same week. On the 23rd, Marshal Jean-Baptiste Bessieres defeated a probe by Prussian troops at Bayezun. On the 24th of December, an action occurred at Kolyzb-and-Sokocin where Marshal Pierre Augereau's 7th Corps attempted to cross the Wkra. The French managed to secure a foothold on the east bank, forcing Major General Michael Andreas Barclay de Tolly's Russian defenders to retreat. On Christmas Day, part of Marshal Michel Ney's 6th Corps drove the Prussians from Soledar, forcing them to retreat north toward Königsberg. The Russians, however, were full of fight and two sharp battles occurred on the 26th of December. Background: at the Battle of Jena Auerstedt on 14 October 1806, Napoleon administered a terrible beating to the principal Prussian armies. On a single day, the French captured 25,000 Prussian soldiers, 200 guns, and 60 colors. In subsequent operations, the French inflicted crippling defeats on their adversaries at Erfurt, Halle, Prenzlau, Passau, Stettin, Lübeck, Magdeburg, and Hamelin. In early November, Davout sent General of Division Marc-Antoine de Beaumont's 2,500 dragoons to scout east of the Oder River. Napoleon ordered his brother General of Division Jérôme Bonaparte to protect his southern flank by operating against Glogau in Prussian-held Silesia, wishing to deny Warsaw to the approaching Russian army. Napoleon decided to secure a position on the east bank of the Vistula River before winter weather forced a stop to the campaigning season. In December, the Prussians were able to field only 6,000, plus the garrisons of Danzig and Grauden. Field Marshal Mikhail Kaminsky led the Russian army in Poland, which numbered about 90,000 men in two wings led by Generals Levin August, Count von Bennigsen and Friedrich Wilhelm von Buxtehude. By now, Kaminsky was showing clear signs of his mental and physical unfitness to command. Buxtehude, who outranked Bennigsen, led the 5th Division under Lieutenant General Nikolai Tujkov. The 7th Division, commanded by Lieutenant General Dmitry Doktorov, the 8th Division of Lieutenant General Peter Kirillovich Essen, and the 14th Division led by Lieutenant General Heinrich Reinhold von Arnrep. Buxteude's divisions were veterans of the Battle of Austerlitz on 2 December 1805 and were under strength. In total, therefore, his wing had 29,000 infantry, 7,000 cavalry, 1,200 gunners, and 216 artillery pieces. Bennigsen commanded the 2nd Division of Osterman-Tolstoy, the 3rd Division led by Lieutenant General Fabian Gottlieb von Ostensacken, the 4th Division under Lieutenant General Dmitry Golitsyn, and the 6th Division commanded by Lieutenant General Alexander Karlovich Sedmoratsky. The nominal strength of Bennigsen's force was 49,000 infantry, 11,000 regular cavalry, 4,000 Cossacks, 2,700 artillerymen, 900 pioneers, and 276 guns. Of these, between 55,000 and 60,000 were available for mobile operations. The Russians fielded an army of 18 divisions in 1806. Each division consisted of 6 3-battalion infantry regiments, 10 squadrons of heavy cavalry, 10 squadrons of light cavalry, 2 heavy foot artillery batteries, 3 light foot artillery batteries, and 1 horse artillery battery. with 14-gun foot batteries and 12-gun horse batteries. Each Russian division theoretically controlled 82 field pieces. The heavy batteries were generally made up of 8 12-pound cannons, 4 heavy howitzers, and 2 light howitzers. The light batteries were similarly mustered but with 6-pound instead of 12-pound cannons. Horse batteries were exclusively made up of 6-pound cannons. 5 divisions under General Johann Michelson faced the Ottoman Turks in Moldavia. The 1st Imperial Guard Division of Grand Duke Constantine Pavlovich of Russia was stationed at St. Petersburg, while 4 additional divisions formed a reserve army in the interior. Napoleon pressed forward with Davout, Augereau, Marshal John Lannes's 5th Corps, and Marshal Joachim Murat's cavalry reserve. As the French advanced, Bennigsen withdrew his troops from the Vistula. Murat occupied Warsaw on 28 November and Napoleon began turning the city into a center of operations. Buxhouden's wing was still several marches to the rear and Bennigsen desired to join his colleague before facing the full strength of the French army. As the French crossed the Vistula in early December, Bennigsen had a change of heart and tried to retake his former position on the east bank. By now, Napoleon's second wave of corps was arriving and, after a few clashes, Bennigsen decided to pull back behind the WKRA after all. After peaking during the Whirlwind campaign west of the Oder, the morale of the French troops hit a new low point in Poland. The bad weather and approaching winter made Napoleon's troops very reluctant to continue the campaign. The Polish roads went from deep mud to frozen ruts as the weather grew colder. The emperor was forced to dispense a bonus in pay and extra shirts and shoes for his soldiers. Even so, French military discipline grew worse. At this time, Napoleon first used the term «les grognards» to describe his troops. Napoleon determined to mount an offensive, led by Murat's cavalry. Davout, Augereau, and Lannes would drive north from Warsaw. From Thorn, Marshal Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte's 1st Corps, and Bessieres would push east to turn the Russian right flank and separate General-Lieutenant Anton Wilhelm von Leroy-Stokes' Prussians from their allies. Marshal Nicholas Soult and the 4th Corps would provide the connection between the two forces. 2 major cavalry formations were in existence. Murat's 1st Cavalry Corps included Beaumont's 3rd Dragoon Division. General of Division Etienne Marie-Antoine championed Anant-Sauty's 1st Cuirassier Division. General of Division Louis Klein's 1st Dragoon Division. General of Division Nicolas Leonard Becker's 5th Dragoon Division, and General of Brigade Edouard Jean-Baptiste Milhaud's Light Cavalry Brigade. Bessieres' short-lived 2nd Cavalry Corps comprised the 2nd Dragoon Division under General of Division Emmanuel Grouchy. 4th Dragoon Division led by General of Division Louis Michel Antoine Saarhouk. 2nd Cuirassier Division commanded by General of Division Jean-Joseph Onge d'Hautpoul, and the Light Cavalry Division of General of Division Jacques-Louis François de Laisted d'Italy. The 2nd Cavalry Corps was established on 16 December and dissolved on 12 January 1807. Battle. On the morning of 23 December, Napoleon personally observed the Russian position near the point where the WKRA emptied into the Bug-Naru. Near its mouth, the WKRA split into 2 branches, forming a low, swampy island. Davout's troops had occupied the island since the night of 20 December. Davout had 3 infantry divisions under Generals of Division Charles-Antoine Morand, Louis Friant, and Charles-Étienne Gudin de la Sablonnière. Napoleon decided on a night attack and drafted very detailed orders. Because of the high quality of Davout's generals and officers, the emperor's orders were carefully carried out. Opposite the French, Osterman Tolstoy held the east bank of the WKRA with 9 battalions, 2 squadrons, 1 regiment of Cossacks, 14 guns, and 6 light guns. The Russian 2nd Division included 3 infantry brigades. Major General Nikolai Mazovsky led the Pavlovsky Grenadier and Rostov Musketeer regiments. Major General Alexander Yakovlevich Sukhin commanded the Petersburg Grenadier and Yeletsky Musketeer regiments, and Major General Ivan Andreyevich Levin directed the 1st and 20th Jaeger regiments. The complement of 48 guns was made up of two 12-pound-foot batteries and two 6-pound-horse batteries. Major General Petr Petrovich Palin led the cavalry brigade, which included the Little Russia Cuirassier, Courland Dragoon, and Sumy Hussar regiments, plus the Malakhov and Sizoev Cossacks. Moran's division assembled on the island. Fryan's troops were slightly farther north at the village of Pomakawa, and Gudin's soldiers held a bridgehead to the west near Modlin. At 7 p.m. Moran deployed his troops into 3 columns, each headed by 1 battalion. Supported by artillery firing grapeshot, the French Voltigeur companies boated across the WKRA. The Voltigeurs took covering positions on the east bank while engineers quickly built 3 bridges. Once the bridges were completed, Moran's troops swarmed across. The 17th Light Infantry Regiment and 3 squadrons of cavalry were among the first units across. General of Brigade Claude Petit led a task force from Gudin's division across the bridge nearest the Bugnaru and moved up to the WKRA's east bank. Moran's attack was a success and the Russians were quickly hustled out of their positions on the east bank. The 17th Light rushed forward and drove the Russians out of Czarnowo. However, their opponents soon rallied and recaptured the village from the French. There was a lull in the action as Moran brought reinforcements up. He sent forward the 30th Line Infantry Regiment, 1 battalion along the banks of the Bugnaru to attack on the right, a 2nd battalion in a frontal attack, while the 3rd battalion moved through a pine woods on the left. Osterman Tolstoy's troops also repelled this assault. Afraid of losing his heavy artillery, the Russian commander sent his to the rear. The French continued their attack and eventually seized Czarnowo, then deployed east of the village. Meanwhile, with the help of 6 guns on the west bank of the WKRA, Petit's 400 men cleared the Russian redoubts opposite Pomakawa. They were first charged by Russian cavalry, which they drove off. Davout sent some of Gudin's troops to assist and Petit hung onto the redoubts, despite being attacked by Russian infantry. At 4 a.m., Osterman Tolstoy issued orders for retreat while maintaining his attacks on Petit. With the help of 3 late-arriving Russian battalions and 4 squadrons, the Russians withdrew in good order to the east. Fryan's troops were ordered forward at 4 a.m. Arriving on the field soon after, they took over the pursuit from Moran's exhausted men. Together with Davout's light cavalry under General of Brigade Jacob François Maraluz and a dragoon regiment, Fryan's soldiers hounded the Russian retreat. The French captured 3 enemy guns at Nassy-Elche and drove their opponents into some nearby woods. The Russians fought back hard, keeping Davout's troops from advancing farther than Nassy-Elche that day. Osterman Tolstoy admitted losing 500 men, but another report states that 1,392 Russians were killed and wounded, including 3 generals wounded. Davout reported losing 807 casualties. The French suffered particularly heavy losses in officers. Historian David G. Chandler estimates losses as 1,400 on both sides. Digby Smith states that French casualties were 16 officers and 830 men, while the Russians suffered 41 officers and 1,360 men casualties and 5 guns captured. Smith's total includes 500 prisoners. Baizun, Kolizab, and soldier actions. On the 19th of December, Bessieres' advance guard, which consisted of Grouchy's dragoons, seized Baizun. Anxious to regain control of the town, Laristoke sent 2 infantry regiments, a regiment of dragoons, 2 regiments of hussars, and horse artillery battery to recapture it. This force arrived at Baizun on the 23rd to find that Grouchy had been heavily reinforced by Bessieres' 2nd Cavalry Corps, plus infantry and artillery. Leading his division, Grouchy attacked the Prussians and drove them back towards Soldor. The 2nd Dragoon Division included the 3rd, 4th, 10th, 11th, 13th, and 22nd Dragoon Regiments plus 3 horse artillery pieces. Major Karl Anton Stephen de la Roche-Aymon led the Prussian units bearing the brunt of this action, which were half of the Torchies-Uhlan Regiment, the Schleifen Grenadier Battalion, and a horse artillery battery. Trapped against a swampy forest, 500 of the Prussian infantry and 5 guns were captured. French losses were described as light, while the number of Prussians killed and wounded was not reported. As the main action at Czarnowo faded away at dawn on the 24th of December, Augereau attempted to force the passage of the WKRA to the northwest. Kołobrzeg is about 10 km northeast of Plonsk, while Sokocin is 5 km northwest of Kołobrzeg. The 7th Corps commander had 2 infantry divisions and 2 cavalry brigades on hand. Augereau ordered Jacques Desjardins' 1st Infantry Division and Milhaud's cavalry to seize the crossing at Kołobrzeg, while sending Etienne Hudlet de Bere's 2nd Division and General of Brigade Pierre Watier's cavalry to take Sokocin. The Russian commander, Barclay de Tolly, deployed 3 battalions and 3 squadrons at Sokocin, 3 battalions and 2 squadrons at Kołobrzeg, and 3 battalions to hold the wooded area between the 2 villages. The bridges at both places were burnt and the Kołobrzeg crossing was defended by 12 artillery pieces. Hudlet's attack failed when his soldiers were unable to rebuild the bridge under heavy fire. Frustrated at the failure of his first attempt, he ordered a second attack which resulted in further losses. Desjardins' assault enjoyed better luck. He spread the 16th Light Infantry Regiment along the west bank opposite Kołobrzeg, under the 16th's covering fire. The grenadiers of the 2nd Battalion of the 14th Line Infantry Regiment picked their way across the incompletely destroyed bridge to seize a foothold on the east bank. Though counter-attacked by Russian infantry and hussars, the grenadiers held on until reinforced. The French forced back their opponents and captured 6 guns. Meanwhile, General of Brigade Pierre Bellon-Lapisse took a task force 3 km downstream, surprised the bridge guard at Pruzkowo, and successfully crossed. After this success, Augereau marched Hudlet's division to the Kołobrzeg crossing. Milhaud aggressively pursued the Russians and captured the baggage train of the 2nd Division. Augereau reported losses of 66 killed and 452 wounded, almost equally divided between his 2 divisions. Russian losses are not reported. Also on the 24th, Ney bumped into a Prussian rearguard under Oberstleutnant Friedrich Wilhelm Fryer von Bülow at Gorzna and pushed it back. Bülow joined La Roche-Aymon's detachment and the 2 continued falling back. Ney sent General of Division Jean-Gabriel Marchand's division ahead towards Soldor and Marwa while holding the other division at Gorzna. On the 25th of December, Marchand with 2 regiments attacked the single Prussian battalion at Soldor and drove it out of the town at 2 p.m. The rest of his division, which had taken a roundabout path through Marwa, soon arrived. Lerestock attacked Soldor at about 5 p.m., but was unable to break into the town despite hand-to-hand fighting. He retreated north to Neidenburg, breaking contact with the Russian army. Marchand commanded the 27th, 39th, 69th, and 76th Line Infantry Regiments, 8 battalions, and 12 guns in 2-foot artillery batteries. Out of a total of 6,000 troops, the French suffered 220 casualties, including General of Brigade François-Pierre Félix von der Waite. Lerestock's troops, which belonged to General Major Christoph Friedrich Otto Diericker's brigade, included 3,000 men in 4 battalions and 8 12-pound guns. The units involved were the Ruchel Infantry Regiment No. 2 and the Schöning Infantry Regiment No. 11. Prussian casualties were not reported, though Ney claimed to have inflicted 800 casualties on his enemies and captured 2 guns and 1 color. The French pressed eastward and encountered the Russians in two major actions on 26 December. At the Battle of Pultusk, Bennigsen with 40,600 troops fought 26,000 French under Marshal Lannes. Billitsen and 9,000 Russians fought off Augereau's 16,000 French at the Battle of Goloman.